Okay, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for sitting down. Risky Business Podcast. We have not met before. This will be a fun one to get to meet you, get to hear from you. My goal is to sit down with Louisville entrepreneurs and hear their story of risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And to give everyone clarity, we were talking before we even started. We're like, let's wait for it.
Hold on, turn the cameras on.
Turn the cameras on. What's funny is that I was actually following your posts.
Dude, showing it, it's so fun because I was never a TikTok person at all. I was in the... All right, pause it right there. Don't actually pause the screen. If you are listening to this, thank you for supporting the Risky Business Podcast. If we have given you any sort of value add in your life or pushed you to take a risk, I would love for you to, whatever platform you're listening to this, rate it, follow it, share it with somebody. That's the most important thing. If you're sitting there thinking, hey, that episode I listened to maybe the other day with Scotty Scarce or the one with Dave Stone or Daniel Cameron or whoever it might have been, whatever you're listening to, share it with somebody. That's the biggest way we can help spread this risk platform. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get back to the episode. But okay, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for sitting down. Risky Business Podcast. We have not met before, about 5 minutes ago, so this will be a fun one to get to meet you, get to hear from you. My goal is to sit down with Louisville entrepreneurs and hear their story of risk and hear what makes them tick and what makes them do what they want to do. So I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to give everyone clarity, we were talking before we even started. We're like, oh, let's wait for it.
Hold on, turn the cameras on.
Turn the cameras on. So yeah, this is the first time we met. What's funny is that I am on TikTok and I've been following your posts for a long time as a realtor, just because you show some nice houses. So Duck's there. And then all of a sudden you reached out to me from the Risky Business profile. And I obviously did my digging and I saw Sam Stone and I was like, I've actually been following this guy for like 6 to 8 months now. And I didn't even realize it.
That is the goal.
I don't know if I was like physically following you, but the algorithm was making me follow you for sure.
It knew you had money and you lived in Louisville, which is the perfect person I'm looking for. So.
And then I was thinking to myself, I was like, dang. He's probably getting some clients from this. Like it actually it's a very slow play because like real estate, you got to be 5-10 years out for someone to like get their next house. But it's just funny to me. I was like, oh, makes sense. Like,
dude, showing it, it's so fun because I was never a TikTok person at all. I was in the game of like, I don't want to give China my information, which when I look back at it, I'm like, they probably have every bit about me that they want and they probably don't want anything else about me.
They don't care about your information.
But in the end, I was like, my cousin texted me and was like, you have to get on TikTok. There's realtors blowing up on it. Just take exactly what you do on Instagram, put it on TikTok. So I did that and things started to I had videos starting to blow up and actually getting legitimate clients from TikTok, which I didn't think would happen. And, I've had several really good listings where people will come from TikTok and they'll be like, hey, I really like the way that you show off your houses.
That's awesome.
It's been really good as I sit down for like listing appointments. Most people charge around the same thing for real estate. So when you can differentiate yourself and say, hey, I can do this, what everybody else does. But I also have a reach of several 100,000 people a month that I can come in contact with who care about Louisville real estate. It's an added bonus. So I enjoy it.
So TikTok's funny because I have a couple friends that are also the same way. They're like, first of all, China doesn't care about your information. They care about the information in bulk. But like you personally, no one's looking at Sam Stone, right? No one's looking at me. I guess I hope so. But I was like talking to my brother and he was so adamant about not downloading TikTok. I was like, you know what you sound like? You sound like mom and dad before they didn't want to download Facebook. Like, are you going to either adapt and grow with the times or are you going to like sit here and be, on your high horse? Like, I don't want to, involve myself in this new platform. But in reality, everyone's going towards it. And it's by far the best platform.
It really is.
Like, it's so much better than anything else. Like Instagram's a second, but like there's a big margin between the two. They know what to put in front of you really well. My next question is are you getting a younger?
This is my podcast asking you questions.
Well, I'm curious because because I'm like thinking about running ads on TikTok. Are you getting a younger audience? Are you getting the audience? I mean, people that are buying homes like that in Louisville, their average age is going to be in the 50s, 60s, I would imagine.
So that's what I thought. I thought it would be a younger client base. It is a younger client base, but 30 to 40-year-olds have houses and they sell a lot of houses. So there's a whole lot more people on there spending money from TikTok.
You're getting realtors that are selling.
No, I'm getting real clients reaching out and saying, hey, will you come check out my house? I want to list it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or I see a house that you just videoed that you have listed. Can you show it to me?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's been really fun and it really opens your eyes to possibilities that are outside of Cam and I were talking before this. Just when you can own your own lead gen in-house and you own it completely and you control it, it can change the way that you operate your business, which is really fun.
And what company are you affiliated with? Like Remax or?
Yeah, Linehan Sotheby's.
Oh,
town.
perfect.
Yeah.
So you know Mitch Schiller.
Yeah, I know
That's
Mitch.
who sold me my last house.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, Mitch is awesome. I just was with him this morning.
Yeah.
Do
you know Ethan Adams?
Yeah, Ethan Adams. I know Ethan as well.
You know, the only other one that I know.
Do you work out with him? He works out with everybody, it seems like.
No, but he just did a High Rocks, which I'm doing in November. So I'm eager to, I texted him. I don't know if he texted me back or not. So I'm eager to hear how that went. But
pull up your phone. Let's see if he texted back. Let's see, Ethan.
Oh, it's over there.
Gone. Dang
it's
it.
over there.
Dang it. Ethan, you got saved this time.
Yeah, this time. But he and I just like, we had mutual friends. And so we started communicating and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mitch has been a good friend since high school. And
he's a good dude.
It was like kind of a tag team realtor thing, because his mother Pam was super involved as well. So like half the time I'd be with Mitch, half the time I'd be with Pam. But the benefit of that is like I have someone that's my age that kind of knows what I want, and then I also have someone with experience that was giving me the ins and outs. But anyways, Linehan Sotheby's had an off-market, house, and I was like, this thing is gorgeous.
That's awesome.
Literally got offered for full asking price within the first people that visited the house, and we were the second. We're like, we have to go over. Like at this point already, and it was already a house that, it was just an interesting process, but it was an interesting process.
Yeah. So. Okay, we got to get to you. This is not about me. This is about Thaddeus or Tad or Thad, whoever you want to be for this show. Feel free to be.
All the alter egos.
Okay, so explain to me. You're from Louisville.
Yes.
You went to Trinity. Explain to me after Trinity what happens. You go to UK.
Went to UK. Did a lot of different studies. Double majored, minored. School came pretty easy, but did a lot of stuff with fraternities, and I think gathered a lot of information on how to like run a business through fraternities. Through some of those connections made through school, I ended up getting an opportunity to go up to New York, and it was like a commission only job. So risky business. It was as risky as that business gets. Actively turned down a couple salary paid positions with commission on top of it. My parents were asking me why, like, this is a risky move, whatever. And I was just like, I'm going to Wall Street. Like the allure just brought me there. I was like, I'm going to go conquer Wall Street. That's the number one thing that I thought that I could do. That'd be the most badass. And it was a rocky road, that's for certain. But after the first full year out, I started looking back, realizing I was making great money, learning skill sets that I didn't think that I had. And I was really harnessing in on the things that I learned in college, especially with like the social dynamic with the fraternity and recruitment and stuff like that, building teams. And then COVID took place, and then I took my next big risk, which was my firm, everything kind of came to a screeching halt, and I found opportunity within it. So while kids were out of school and people were out of jobs, and, you're looking at what we originally did was recruit like sales reps that were in that college era. So they're probably bussers or waiters or whatever, but they're probably going to get their job cut first during this COVID era. And they weren't going to class. So we took that March to April timeframe when COVID first hit in 2020. We got like 30 college students to start cold calling from their houses and generating deal flow. And that's how we started one of the businesses that I run, which is called Bluegrass Lending. So it was a very interesting time that we took what a lot of people would consider to be a pretty shitty situation and turned it into something positive.
Okay, so tell me about Bluegrass Lending.
Yes. So what we do is Bluegrass Lending is a brokerage shop. So basically we're sending out broad solicitations, cold calling, marketing, whatever it is, to try and find interested business owners in acquiring alternative or traditional financing products. So we can help the business all across the board. We can do things like credit repair, credit card processing. We can do bookkeeping services, but where the real money's made for us is selling loans. So we can do either traditional or alternative loans. The alternative loans is going to be like backed by a hedge fund or private money, which we've started our own fund to do that as well. So we participate in the private money sector of it on top of that. But it's going to be higher interest rate versus the traditional stuff's going to be asset backed, so it's going to be lower interest rate. But Bluegrass is basically pairing buyers and sellers. And then I have another company called Lionheart, which I'll go ahead and introduce. And that's going to be like our in-house portfolio. So that's going to be where our money goes into the business owner's account and we actually service the loan. Most of these things are actually called purchases or future receivables, but we kind of blend together these series of products. And what we really want is to build like a financial picture for the client. So it's not about just doing one transaction. It's about having like 5 to 10 steps to really clean up the file and make sure that they're ready to take on the next steps of their journey as a business owner. So,
okay, so you're 28.
29.
Right? 29.
Yes.
The way you speak of this is like you have 30 years of experience specifically in the financial industry. So how did you learn so much in such a, not seemingly short period of time? If you are listening to this and you're thinking, I want to sponsor the Risky Business Podcast, that's where I want to spend my money, we will gladly take your money and we will gladly tell people about your product as long as it aligns with what we are interested in here on the Risky Business Podcast. So let me know. We are looking for sponsors. I would love to have your water bottle, your drink. I'd love to have your hat that I wear. I'd love to have your logo on something. I'd love to talk about your business platform, whatever it is. I'd love to share it with people so that we can help reach more people with the Risky Business Podcast and to challenge young people and people of all ages to take that risk. Thanks so much.
Oh, I've learned a lot. I mean, listen, I've lived in New Jersey, Arizona, Miami, New York, and then here, back and forth from Louisville to Lexington. I have sold a brokerage shop. I have bought partners out of brokerage shops. I have bought partners out of funding shops. I have dealt with, just raising money, legal matters. I mean, there's just been a lot of grit that goes into this. So I'm a young guy starting to get bags under my eyes. Like you can understand, like I work pretty hard, but we have a great team behind us. And I think that's the reason that we've been able to do what we've been able to do. But there's been a lot of mistakes that have been made. So, we can come off and make it look like it's this pretty picture up top, but in reality, we're all figuring it out. And I'm still figuring out new things every single day. And I think that thirst for knowledge is what's helped me to be where I am today. Because I look at where I am now and I'm like, dang, I'm really comparing myself to some big players. And I acknowledge how many things that we need to do to get there and how many gaps that there are. So, it's nice to take a step back and relish on what you have accomplished. But at the same time, like I'm comparing myself to some really big players in the industry. And I acknowledge that there's a long way to go. So, but yeah, I've tried a lot of new things and just haven't, go ahead.
No, I think back to, you said something earlier when you were in New York and you're like, I stepped back and realized I was making really good money.
Right.
And I think it's, as a young guy, Cam and I were just talking about this before we came in, as a young guy, it's so easy to, just compare yourself to the next level up. There's never like a sit there and be like, okay, like, I don't know if you were an Office fan, but like, I think Andy says in The Office, like, don't you wish you knew you were in the good old days when you were in the good old days? And it's I, for one, and it seems like you in the same way after knowing you for 5 minutes, it's very similar. Like it's hard to sit there and be like, okay, like this has gone better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not good to be complacent and just be like, okay, I can just sit and coast, but also like, the challenge, especially for young guys who might be listening to this or young girls who are listening to this, who said like, man, I've really worked hard. I've built something. It's so easy to just, especially with the internet. I think that's one of the downfalls the algorithm's just going to show you somebody who's doing it better than you. And you're just going to go, oh, well, Alex Hormozi sold $100 million worth of books in one day. Like I'm not even anywhere close to that. So like, what am I doing? And I think there's something that's missing in our generation of people with access so quickly to everything on our phones the second we want to see it. There's something we miss in the fact that celebrating our own wins, and there's definitely times you can go over on that and all you do is celebrate a win. And it's like, okay, buddy, you won a college state championship or a high school state championship 8 years ago. Stop wearing your Letterman's jacket. But like celebrating your wins and also striving forward. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you mentioned Alex Hormozi. I was actually at his workshop 2 weeks ago.
No way.
Yeah. Got the opportunity to see him live and his team and doing a little bit of work with them. But that like kind of is attributing to the factor of like, I'm paying other people to coach me right now, like actively in several different areas, whether it's professionally, whether it's from a health perspective, just there's a lot of different coaches that I'm now paying because I know that I don't know it all. And I think that's the biggest learning lesson is like, the sooner that you realize you don't know it all, and the sooner you can like relinquish that ego and start asking for help. And sometimes that's going to cost you a lot of money because as your problems get bigger, it's going to cost more to solve them. Right.
So you just spent time with Alex Hormozi. What's the biggest takeaway that you had from that?
Well, I didn't spend time with him directly.
Okay.
But there was a, period of the workshop where he was up on stage doing Q&As and stuff like that. Hot take. He is an incredible entrepreneur. But my takeaway is that like he's nothing insanely special.
Yeah.
Like, I could do this.
Yeah.
I think it would take me another 10 to 15 years, but like, you know, nothing's out of reach. That's what I kind of took from these things. I think he spends a meticulous amount of time on the details. And I think that that's super important. Like, you walk in and everything is immaculate as his workshop. On top of that, the way that he runs his sales teams, everything is tracked to a specific metric. It is very organized. They stick to the script. Everything, every detail is just, you know, fully out in front, and they are ranking these individuals based off of those details. I mean, they were even saying, like, in a lot of instances, when you have an opener or an appointment setter and they don't stay on the call to do a warm handoff to the closer, you're going to lose a ton of business just because that one little small detail. So what I learned is that looking at my business, which I feel like I spread myself thin because I keep wanting to try new things, it's like, stop chasing that rabbit, focus on what's in front of you, and let's like really perfect it. And so that's part of the reason as to why I went there, is to like figure out my constraints. But I'm doing continuous work with them. But, you know, he's just an average guy that works really, really hard. But like, I think that there are similar opportunities for everyone to achieve that same level of success. They just have to be diligent enough to do it and be willing to invest their time and energy. And as time goes on, your money into it. I mean, you got to imagine how much he's spending on ads.
Oh yeah. I know how much he spent specifically on ads for me that I see.
Yeah.
I'm like, good night. It's just all day.
Yeah. I mean, there's just another level to this, like, you know, millions of dollars a month on ad spend. Think about what millions of dollars a month on ad spend would do for you and your business. Yeah. Right? Think about it.
I could keep up with that work.
So, exactly.
So, okay, you said you had a couple of businesses. Have you said, or do you have more than just those two?
Those are the two core. I have some other companies that basically help them, but that's going to be the two core businesses. So, hopefully we'll be able to accumulate enough wealth as time goes on to where I can kind of like start managing investments like a family office style. So there's other things that are going on in that end, but, you know, not going to discuss it. So.
Yeah, no worries. You know, we'll have you back on later.
Yeah.
Okay. So break down for me, what do you feel like the biggest risk you took? Obviously moving up to New York, moving back, but when you branch out and start true businesses like Bluegrass Lending, what's the biggest jump in for you to say, okay, I'm starting to hire people, or what does that look like?
It's a good question. Something that came up as a thought that was provoked when you were speaking last was when I started Bluegrass, I made good money in month one. But it was because I spent 6 to 8 months when I was up in New York making hardly anything to learn the sales process. And then once I learned the skill of sales in the area that I was in, it's like, it was so invaluable that I could start. I'm so confident in my ability to sell that I could lose it all and start over tomorrow. But it's because the sales talent that I learned, that I surrounded myself with by entering in the biggest and baddest pool, which was Wall Street. And so I learned these sales skills. And so when it came time where I had to leave because COVID came and was shutting down my current firm that I was at and started Bluegrass, well, it was really just sales was the invaluable skill that I brought along, which made it easier for me to make money pretty quickly. Now, there's been a lot of challenges, like a ton of challenges. Personnel issues are a huge thing. Where to invest your money, identifying the constraints of your business, like all these things are very difficult. But I think that first step is really what changed it all, right? I got out of my comfort zone, which is in Louisville. I'd only been to Lexington for college, and then I decided to go to the biggest and baddest scene that there was of all time, which is Wall Street. And I learned invaluable skills in sales. And now I can carry that skill no matter what industry that I'm involving myself in. And I think that's like the crux. That's the biggest risk and the first risk that I took. And, you know, we love that area so much. Now we have an office on Wall Street. So it comes full circle. Yeah.
That's awesome. Is it called Bluegrass Lending?
Yeah. On Wall Street. So we got one in Kentucky on Wall Street and then in Arizona. So in Tempe
in Phoenix
area.
Or where?
Tempe, right next to Phoenix.
Okay, cool.
So those are the 3 locations. But there's
Are you
just
planning
something
on expanding bigger?
At first, so I had like 2 brokerage shops, and then I ended up selling the equity back to the owner of that other brokerage shop, and just decided like I felt like I was living like 2 worlds. Like I have 2 families. It's like, this doesn't make sense. I need to be giving more of my attention to Bluegrass. And then we had at one point 4 offices, and it's just, we were just spreading ourselves thin, right? So it's really, we're trying to hone in on how can we perfect what we have now, because I think that there's a lot of revenue being left on the table with just our current operation. as opposed to let's add more offices, more people, and just, I like to visualize it as like a sponge. As you stretch a sponge, those holes they start to increase in size, right? And we're just, in my young career, a big mistake that I made was stretching myself too thin. But it's not only me, it's also my team. Like my team can't be stretched thin either, or they're going to be in 10 different places at once, which is going to, impact the quality of work. So, I don't know where we're going with that, but I hope that answers your question.
No, it did. And I told you a little bit before, like one of the reasons why I enjoy the podcast is, most people who listen are young guys and girls in their 20s and 30s. And as you know, there's a lot of people who get out of college, and not that there's anything wrong with a 9-to-5 job. There's people who have different goals and different things in life where they want to be able to turn their phone off at 5 and never have to pick it up. And that's great. There's just people who will get out of college. And the reason I started this was I just really have a passion for saying, okay, here's the people I've seen be successful. Here's the risks they took when they were 20 to 30. How can I challenge people who are 20 and in their 20s and 30s to just take as big of a risk as possible? And from the outside, I see your Instagram videos. I see all is it a bell people ring when they make a big sale? What is that? A gong or something?
We got the classic sales floor gong.
Nice.
So they get all
the gong. I saw some guy made like $253,000 the other day, and I was like, good for that dude.
Yeah. No, there's some big commissions to be made. But I think everyone is so complex. Like it doesn't necessarily come down to getting out of a 9-to-5 for you to take the risk that's important to impact your life. I mean, your life could be more impacted from making a shift in a religious perspective. Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing to talk about with you, right? There could be, you could just decide that you want to be out of the country, or you could decide that you want to own that tiki hut stand on the beach and like do whatever it is. But it's finding that ultimate, fulfillment. It's just aligning like yourself spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Like how can you find that energy and harness it correctly? And I struggle with that all the time because I feel like I don't really always get to control my life. I feel like sometimes the businesses control me a little bit. So I hope that that's a big skill that I start to harness in on as I turn into my 30s. It's like, how can I kind of gain my life back as I start thinking about things like family and things that are going to be more uplifting long-term. But I don't think that, I think from the perspective of business, yeah, you got to try new things. And the 9-to-5 is not a bad thing, but you have to assess like, is this going to help you reach your goals? But I don't think it's like independent of the 9-to-5, the work life. Like I think people just need to find what gives them true self-actualization, that like top end of the Maslow's hierarchy. Because that's what really makes you feel, good about your identity and happy when you go to sleep at night. So
yeah, fulfilled too. It's like, the fun thing for me in real estate is like so much of it, you're walking into somebody's house when, I've said it before on the podcast, somebody died, there's a divorce, there's a kid's going off to college and they don't need that size house anymore. And it's like you walk into this time where people are emotional and they're welcoming you into their home to be able to do something to help them through a time that's very emotional and very stressful. And it's like, people always apologize to me. They're like, oh, we're so stressed. We're so sorry. We snapped at you or whatever. I'm like, guys, if I was selling my mom's house, she'd snap at me right now because it's so stressful selling a house. And so I think, and that's what brings me joy. I lay my head down at night and it's like, man, I had a good friend that just found their dream house. We were going against other offers, and it's like, that's fun. Like that's what brings me joy in life. And I happen to get paid when I do it, and it makes me happy and I enjoy it, and it's fun getting to serve people. And, and as you mentioned before, like I'm a Christian. That's how I want to structure my life. That's the most important thing in my life. And so it's opened up to conversations and people who are in really hard seasons, walking through a divorce, and just getting talked to a guy on, hey, you're walking through a really hard time right now. Like I've had guys that have come to church with me and who have changed their life based on a really hard season that I got welcomed into, not because they knew me as somebody with a pastoral leadership degree, but because I walked into their house during a hard time, or they came into an open house and got to go in through that avenue to say like, hey, this is where I find my worth. You were talking about worth earlier and being fulfilled. It's like, this is where I find my fulfillment. And, like, let me show you how I find it, which is really fun.
Well, I think that, you just brought up so many thought-provoking things right there. I really enjoyed it. One, I bet you obtain more or at least better quality clients from that approach with business, right? Do you feel like you get a lot of good referrals and people that are putting their best foot, like clients that you enjoy to work with because of that approach?
100%. I think the most fun thing is, and you're like this on social media too, just from seeing it before we met, is when I talk to people who want to get into real estate, or if as listeners listen to this, whatever field they want to get into, just be exactly who you're going to be on social media. Because if you're portraying somebody else, or you're portraying that, like Ryan Serhant is this big real estate agent in New York City, you probably heard of him, sells all this stuff. If I act like I'm Ryan Serhant on my Instagram reels, then I have to act like him when I'm showing a house that next day, because that's how those people found me. Or I have to act like him when I pick up the phone.
That's not sustainable.
No, and I'm not myself. So the most freeing thing was when I first got into real estate, it was real like, okay, like I need to, I'm showing a house in Shelby County. I drive a truck. I'm a redneck. You know what I mean? It's like I show a house in Norton Commons. I'm like, okay, let me maybe take my wife's car and like, dress up a little bit different. It's like, like here's me, here's who I am. And that's how I portray myself on social media. It's hopefully, I want to be fun to work with. My goal is it's not like, the most like just stressful suit and tie button down. Here's exactly what it's like when we're walking through houses. It's like we're going to have fun throughout the process. And if it takes us 10 houses to go see, you're going to have a fun time with me. And so that's what I portray, or not portray, that's what I put out there on social media. And then it's fun when people meet me and people always say like, man, you're just like, I feel like it's just like when I saw you on Reels. And like, that's the goal, because if I'm doing like the house walkthroughs that you mentioned on TikTok before, like I don't take 2 of those takes of me doing the voiceovers. I literally just do one. And if I mess up on it, I just roll with it and make a dumb joke about how I have a hard time saying certain words. And it's like, that's what people want. And I think when you're going to start a business or whatever you're building, obviously, like when you're just authentic for people can tell on social media. And when you're trying to portray somebody else, or you're trying to act like Alex Hormozi or all these different guys who are doing it big right now, it's like people can sniff that out so fast. And in the end, just be yourself, be who God's made you to be. And that's going to attract people to you.
Yeah.
I think
that authenticity with social media, I think, is the key word there. Mm-hmm. But what stood out to me is I feel like you just have this calming effect to you. And so it's like the clients that are going to work with you are going to work with you, and the clients that aren't. And there's an aspect of relinquishing control, which I feel would be rooted in your religion, mm-hmm. which I feel like I've kind of gone in and out because I've just been so distracted. And I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself, especially as I was young. When I was just starting the business, I felt like everything was within my control, did not delegate well, was involved with every minute detail. And there was just this aspect of like, not relinquishing control and allowing life to allowing the business to kind of operate without you interfering with it all the time. And, it's calming. It's something that I can see within you that, I can definitely say that I admire, and something that I can look up to is just like, kind of just letting it happen the way it's supposed to. And then your authenticity leading with that is probably, again, getting you the exact type of client, exact type of profile, helping your business propel forward in the proper way. More importantly, you're not so caught up in like the next guy next to you. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of how I feel when I'm speaking to you.
Oh, thanks, man.
So, that's something that I could definitely learn from. Like, I feel like I'm so competitive that I'm like looking at my friends in the industry saying like, hey, I got to beat them. I got to do this. And it starts to interrupt my inner peace. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what I've been really, spending time on, is like, how do I obtain that inner peace and just, I'm on my own trajectory. I'm not racing anyone but myself. And like, kind of just relinquishing a little bit of the control there. And I think religion's a good foundation for that.
I saw a funny quote the other day that was just saying like, I wish I knew who said it. It was just on TikTok, but it was just saying, I don't know is your dad still alive?
Yes.
So it was just saying like, when your dad passes away, you lose the only man in this world who truly wants you to do better than them.
Yeah.
And it was just, it made me sit back and think, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. And it's like the special relationship, and everybody's relationship with their dad's different. But when, when you're a father, and I have 2 kids, it's like, man, I want my son Rhodes to do better than me in every way, shape, and form. And I think when you talked about control, because my wife would probably not mention the same one thing that you did about me being able to relinquish control very easily. But when you have kids, like the second that kid is born, you hold them and you're like, holy cow, I'm not in control of anything.
Right.
Like, it's just this weight that smacks you in the face. Like, I have what is going to happen with this baby?
Yeah.
Like they're breathing. You're like, okay, the first night you just stay awake and you're like, okay, are they still breathing? Like I'm checking to make sure like the shirt's going up and down. And it's wild. That's probably the biggest day I can think of, like true, literally feeling like control just slip out of my hands, which was really cool. Cause it, you know, as a believer in God, it's like, okay, God, like you got them. Cause I have no clue what I'm doing. There's no training for parenting. It's just like I always joke like God made it 9 months for a baby to be born for a human, because that's how long it takes to wrap your head around what the heck am I going to do when we have this baby. But yeah, man, I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole.
How does that change? You know, a lot of friends of mine.
Okay, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I know somebody that should be on this podcast, we have a website, riskybusinesspodcast.com. You can go on there and you can say, hey, I should be on the episode. Or you can go on there and say, hey, I know somebody who should be on the episode. You fill out a little form on there. Our team will look at it and say, yes, this is a great person for it. Or no, maybe not. We record in Louisville, Kentucky. And so if you're willing to come to Louisville or make arrangements for it, I would love to talk to you about the risk you've taken. So hop on there, riskybusinesspodcast.com. Check it out. Check out the website. We got more info and maybe some merch coming very soon. Here's the hat. So let me know.
You know, I haven't had my parents pass away, thankfully. I've had, you know, family members and grandparents and stuff, but I haven't had family members pass. I haven't had immediate family members and or my parents pass away. And I don't have kids. And I feel like those surreal moments are definitely turning points in a lot of people's lives. So like the aspect of you having kids, how does that affect you from a professional level? Like your perspective and your, you know, just think, I hear all these crazy stories of people saying like, I now have a why. Yeah. Like even more so than what I thought I thought I had a why. Now I really have a why. Like it's so much clearer now. So tell me a little bit more about that.
For me, it was literally like having, and again, you're interviewing me again, which is not supposed to happen. We'll get back to you soon. But for me, it was like this, you have this extra weight of like, your why behind, okay, here's like, it's great to make money. It's great to help people. And whether you're selling loans or you're selling houses, it's like, you know, in the end of the day, it's like, it's easy in real estate to rank yourself and be like, okay, I want to be this. I want to be in the top 100. There's 7,500 agents. I want to be in the top 300. I want to be in the top 5, you know, and it's easy to rank it that way. Then you have kids and you're like, okay, I'm like, my goal is like, I saw somebody talk about one time, like buy your kids a house in the first year that they're born, and just have it their whole time and then give it to them when they graduate high school. And it's like, decide, hey, you want to use this? You want to go to college with it? It'll be paid off by then, whatever you want to do. And so it's like, we're doing that for our kids. And it's like buying them a house when they're first born. And every month I go collect rent on it, do whatever, fix whatever we need to. And it's like a gift that you're giving them for when they're
a true real estate mogul.
Yeah.
Gotta buy them a house. Not
buy them a house.
What is it? A 504, like it's like the college fund or whatever.
Yeah. 504c3 or something. Yeah. Like I don't know. 504b. I don't know. I'm not the tax person.
Either way, you went house route.
Yeah. I do like the house route. I also get a discount of 3% on houses. So
there you go. There you go.
Yeah, man, having kids has been a big drive for me on my why behind it. And then also just like the expenses go up. And so you're paying for more food, you're paying for more insurance, you're paying for all these things. And my wife is luckily at home and takes incredible care of them. So it's like, she's not out working. And so it's truly like, okay, when I'm, you know, up at 11 o'clock at night working and grinding on how I can prep for the next day or go gain more clients or work hard for my current clients, it's like, it's not just for me, you know what I mean? It's for my wife to be able to stay home. It's for my kids to be able to, you know, go to the private school we want to send him to. It's for my kids to be able to, you know, when he plays baseball, buy him the bat he wants to buy. Like that's fun for me. You know? So there's
so much more depth there.
Yeah. It's fun, man. It's, I'm excited for you whenever that time comes for you. Cause it's life-changing in a good way. Okay. Let's get back to you. Enough about me. So Thaddeus, Tad, tell me about what your business looks like now. And business, I mean, in general, all of your businesses, but what does that look like for you now?
Can you be a little more specific?
Yeah.
Like
so
just freelance it or?
Well, just like you seem like you have a lot of, you know, it seems like your businesses correlate together a lot, but what's a week look like for you? Because obviously you're in the process of building your businesses, but also are you the manager of the businesses? Are you the operator? Are you hiring staff that's coming in, like the guys who are ringing the gong? Are you training those guys? What's that look like for you?
So fortunately, I don't train sales anymore, but here and there, like I'll do like a Q&A like once a week and just let anyone that wants to ask me questions, ask questions, because we have, probably 50, 60 people in the organization now. So I don't have time to give one-on-one attention to everyone. But I would say that at this point, I spend the majority of my time with admin. I feel like the sales component is, for what we have currently, is pretty solid. We're obviously trying to grow sales in different directions. I'm really working on lead gen. That's where I'm spending the majority of my time right now. It's just funny because I feel like I've gotten the business to a point where I don't need to be working on it or working in it every day, and I can work on it, but then I want to grow. So then I add a new project or a new thing to help us grow, and then I kind of have to be back in the trenches again. So it's this constant expansion and contraction in terms of effort that's required from me. But it's also because I like to work, right? So I find things to do. I would say that the day-to-day aspects of both businesses are pretty autonomous at this point. We're now working on how can we put more money into the fund, and how can we get more assets under management that make more economic sense in light of the business? How can we get lead gen? Because if we can control the lead, we can control the sales process, we can control the funding and servicing process, and we can control the money component, we really have a solid opportunity there. It's full circle. And that's kind of what my vision is just to control what I see is the 4 pillars within this. So I would say the lead gen, and then the asset under management piece is stuff that I'm still pretty involved in, but the day-to-day on the sales component for the brokerage shop and the day-to-day for the sales component in the funding shop is pretty much taken care of. We got some really solid people, very trustworthy people, experienced people, very loyal. They just, they started similar to me, they didn't have much experience, and we just kind of learned together. A lot of which are friends of mine from any different walk of life, whether it's from high school, college, or whatever.
Tad
for sure.
It's all different names.
It's a Tad for them. So all the people that have been working with me for a prolonged period of time, they all know me as Tad. And they ended up being some really pivotal people within the business as well. And we all need to grow, and we all need to learn, but they're doing a great job. So that's given me the time and flexibility to be able to work on that lead gen and the total assets under management. And we have Noah sitting in here as well, and we're looking at a community aspect and how we can educate other people on how they can get into this market, which is really part of the lead gen component. We'd like to help them learn how to sell, but in return we can maybe help them learn how to close, and we can do commission splits on it. So I guess, I still am very much so the visionary, working and spearheading the new projects. But once the projects get up and running, I try my best to implement them so they can be ran by the rest of the team. But I'm just one of those people that can't sit and relax on the beach. I'm constantly on my phone because I get my nose into things even when I shouldn't. And that's what I'm trying to be better about, because I do trust all the people on the team. I just have to take a deep breath and actually enjoy what we built, but I have a hard time not doing anything. So I find something to do with my time. But yeah, I'm still working pretty hard. A lot of hours. I would say that hours spent working on or thinking about the business is in that 70 to 80 hour range. But hours physically in the office or doing work that is requiring me to be in front of my email, we're down to 30 at this point, which is a significant switch, because it used to be vice versa, right? So that's good. Any clarity there?
No, that helps. So explain Bluegrass Lending to me. Explain explain what it does for people. Cause I know you mentioned it's a loan source.
Yeah. So our primary products are going to be alternative financing. Most people in the US just don't have very much assets to their name. And so when they're trying to get their business up and running, they have a hard time turning to the right place. And if they do have assets, they're typically in their personal, right? Not in the business. So they don't have a piece of equipment or a piece of commercial real estate. So we help businesses with term loans, SBA loans, real estate backed loans, HELOCs, stuff like that. But there's just a lot of instances where those products can take too long to acquire. So we also have alternative funding products or unsecured products. This is going to be considered a purchase of future receivables, so it's not a loan, but these are going to be higher interest. But the difference is you have payroll, or you have, delayed accounts receivable, someone's not paying you on time, whatever it is, we can get this money into your account within 1 day. Whereas in the banks are going to take a little bit longer. Now we like to couple all these products together. So like, we're not going to just give you a higher interest rate, deal if you can truly qualify for the better stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But sometimes we have to take a look at your books. We have to clean them up. Sometimes you have to clean up your credit. Sometimes you have to get some charge-offs, taken off your credit. There's just different things that need to take place. And then while those processes are occurring, a business owner might be a great plumber. They might be a great real estate owner. They might be whatever they're good at. It might be the best restaurant owner, but they might not have the most innate understanding of finances. And I think a lot of people who own businesses realize that, they try to outsource what they're not good at. And so we like to work with their CPA, or they can work directly with us from our bookkeeping department. And we try to help them build a financial plan that's going to help them achieve what their goals are. But yeah, the best client for us is someone that's coming back. So we actually have about an 80% returning client rate.
Wow.
Some clients come in, they'll take a loan, they'll get their payroll covered, and then they won't call us again. And that's totally okay. We'll reach out to you, see if you need any extra help. But our goal is to just have a book of returning clients, because those clients are the least costly to us and the most fulfilling to service.
Yeah, of course.
Right? 'Cause they
Well, you don't
back.
have to explain everything again as well.
Well, there's that. But then you also get to watch their business grow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen clients with, like I have one client that I'm very close with, and his why is that he's got a grandbaby with a cleft palate, and he wants to, build a business to the point where he can sell it and he can, pay for her surgery, but more importantly, give back to the community of people that are also suffering from that same thing. And this is a client that I've been funding since 2021.
Wow.
So for 4 years, I've been able to watch this client through their ups and downs. And there's been some financial turmoil, but there's also been some financial successes. And that's just the cyclical nature of businesses, right? Not everyone's making the exact same amount per month. Sometimes you're tight, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you have to have those late night therapy sessions with the clients, when they're going over their cash flow at 8 p.m. or something like that with you. And, some moments are more glamorous than others, but it's being able to build a relationship like that, because we end up making good money off those clients because they come back to us, but more importantly, we also get to help them achieve what they want. So it's very mutually beneficial, as opposed to just like a one-time transaction, which, might generate some revenue, but it's just not we want clients that are going to come back to us because of our brand and because they were treated fairly. But more importantly, that helps us grow our business too, right? Because again, it's the least cost to acquire. So
I think you hit the nail on the head right there with every business. There's probably people who are going to listen to this and they're not going to be jumping into exactly what you do, and they're not going to be jumping into exactly what I do. But when you step back and look at, if you just say, hey, my goal is to have a mutually beneficial relationship in every business we run, it's, obviously I get paid when I sell a house, but obviously that other person who buys the house gets to have the house. And if I don't do my due diligence to make sure they're getting a good house, or doing everything I can to make sure they get a good house, then they're going to have a bad rep of me. And when their niece wants to buy or sell a house, they're going to be like, well, don't use Sam. He wasn't the best. And, in the same way with you guys, and you mentioned earlier, it's like, not funneling somebody to a higher interest rate product if they could qualify for something. And it's like the lenders that I work with on the real estate side, there's a few really good ones that I've worked with. And it's like, the thing that I like is when they can step back and get the full, what you mentioned exactly, the ones who are really good, rather than just saying, hey, here's the product that we offer, let's jam you and try to push to make sure you fit this cookie cutter model. It's like, let me step back. Here's all the different things we could offer. And, like in our situation, I won't get in like details, but we bought a house a year ago, and the lender stepped back and was like, hey, your situation is different. Obviously your income's coming in a different way than what most people are. There's some months that are greater than others, and here's the product that's going to fit you right. And he didn't have to do that, and it didn't make him any more money. It made a whole lot more paperwork for him the way that he ended up doing it. But in the end, it ended up saving us $300-400 a month in interest from what he originally was going to do. And it was like, wow, dude, thanks so much. And now I send him a whole lot more business because of that. And so I think that, whatever business people are wanting to start off with, it's like, if they can look back and, worry about taking care of people, and then don't worry about just how much money can I stack up in the very beginning, but take care of people. And in the end, the money will take care of itself.
Right. Well, sales is like, I think people have this opinion that sales is like, I have to be selling you. I like to educate you. So if I'm educating the client and teaching them something that they didn't know about the industry, which the amount of context that I have is vast. And I don't work with many clients anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the clients that are on our in-house portfolio, especially the larger ones, I'm still contacting them. And when I teach them how the industry works, how the money moves, how people get paid, they might end up giving me the deal and paying me more commission than a competing broker because they trust me and I'm telling them exactly what's taking place and being transparent and educating them along the way in the process. That's not always the case, but more importantly, what I'm getting at is like they are going to come back to me and they're going to send their friends or referrals to me as well, which seems like that's a big part of your business. But I think the key factor there is like educate them, teach them something they didn't know, right? Be human. And that's going to be the way that you're going to win those sales more often than not, as opposed to just doing what's best for you. And you're going to notice that your book of business, you don't have any returning clients, right? Do you know how many clients return for you?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 4 years, and the normal life cycle in a home is, depending on the age of the person, 3 to 7 years is the average life cycle. The younger you are, the more often likely you are to move. Once you get past 40, it's closer to that 7-year mark. So I've had a good amount of return clients already, but it's not like, I don't have an exact number on it.
Right.
But
you probably just need a little bit more time to figure it out. I just think, I would revert back to it. About 80%, that's 4 in every 5 clients that we contact, that we give some type of service to, come back to us more than once. And most of them work with us 5 or 6 times. There's a reason for that, right? And so that speaks for itself. And I think it's because we try our best to educate the client, do what's best for them. And it works out mutually beneficial for us both. So
in a world where you meet a lot of people, you go up to different events and you meet people who are succeeding in a whole lot of different business fields. I feel like we have very similar minds in some ways, to where it's easy to look at somebody else doing something successfully and me sit down here with you and go, man, like that'd be really cool to start a lending office. I feel like I could do that. Like, is it hard for you to sit back and be like, I need to just focus on what I'm doing today and not be, the dog chasing my tail, running after the next coolest thing that I see somebody else succeeding in? All right, I'm here to tell you about Brick. Brick is something that has truly changed my life. If you are an entrepreneur or you're on your phone for work at all and you have the problem with maybe scrolling over and getting on Instagram when you could be returning some texts or phone calls or emails, this is for you. I bought it when I didn't fully understand it. You tap on the Brick app, it shuts off all the apps that you choose. For me, it's all social media. The amount of times I will actually scroll up and just go to Instagram or TikTok without even thinking about it, and it'll be like, hey, you're bricked, you can't even get on this right now. It literally saves me probably 1 to 2 hours a day of productivity. And with my code, which is SAM47683, I'll put it linked to wherever you're watching this, $10, which is around 20% on the Brick app. Takes it from $60 or $65 to $40. It is fantastic. It's magnetic, no batteries, nothing. You just tap on it. It will change your life.
It's probably my weakest trait. I mean, I could sit down in front of a whiteboard and give you 200 very plausible ideas that would make a lot of money. But it's like, what can you do with your limited time and resources? And what I'm really starting to become more innate and in tune with is the resources of my team, right? Like I have an entire ecosystem of people that I need to support, but also, we can't overload their work plate. We can't overload, there could be some financial or cash flow perspectives. Like if I'm launching a new product, how long can I go into the hole on launching that new product? 100 grand, 200 grand. Does it make sense to do that? What's going to be the upside capture? These resources are really important. And so that's where there was a point where I was kind of trying to start a bunch of businesses, and I had 2 brokerage shops, and I had my hands tied in different things. I wanted to get in insurance, and then I wanted to get in, an e-commerce business. And I was like, this isn't working. So I still have the ability to be creative and try new things as long as they all go to the same end goal.
Yeah.
So I kind of get the opportunity to get that out of my system because I can't sit still with the lead gen and with we want to start a fund, essentially is what that comes down to. So we have about $25 million in assets under management, but we want to create an actual hedge fund with this money now instead of just retail investor model. And so that's something new that I want to start working on myself. And that is my opportunity to get that stir craziness, that cabin fever out of my system and work on new things. But it all goes back to the same goal. So really aligning all those goals together. And I still have to fight off those distractions on a daily basis. sometimes it's easier than to sit in on a budgeting meeting or like some type of administrative meeting to like think sales, because that's kind of how my brain works. So, but no, I fight with that all the time. But I think age is a part of that.
Oh, for sure. Somebody said it to me one time, and I literally wrote it on my mirror in my office, like just sitting there in big words. It just says, "Don't multitask, parallel task."
Yeah.
And I'm like, literally, you said it without saying it right there. Like, you can multitask in a way that, as long as all the things that I'm doing are running parallel towards what my end goal is. And that's like what starting this podcast was for me. It's easy to be like, oh man, it'd be really fun to start a podcast. But for me, it's like, I consider it a parallel task. Yes, it takes an hour a week out of my business, but in the end, I get to connect with people who A, are interesting, B, are successful in the Louisville market, and C, there's going to be people who listen to this podcast who know you and know your name, and sit there and we'll listen to an hour of us sit and talk and go, okay, I feel like I know Sam a little bit better now too. And whether they need to use me or my services, or they just have a better name in their mind of brand recognition of me, it's all a parallel task for me to be able to say, I'm trying to build something really special. And in the end, I want to be the number one agent in Kentucky. And so that's what I'm going for. And so if I was trying to just go in a bunch of different directions, for me, it was forceful to be like, okay, if I'm going to start a podcast, it needs to be a parallel task leading towards what I want to be at, which seems like you're doing a great job with.
I appreciate it. It's a struggle. Like I sit down, we are doing a great job, but like I sit down and I try to like, maybe I'm writing a standard operating procedure for something, which is like in the weeds. It's like not what I would choose to spend my time on, but I know it's necessary. And I just realize I keep checking my phone. I have no reason to. Didn't ding, didn't ring, right? Because I'm usually putting it on silent so it doesn't. But like I'll be sitting on a Zoom call, right? And I just keep checking my email because I'm on the computer. So I acknowledge that my attention span is lower than the threshold of shorter than the threshold of where I want it. And so that's something that like I start to consider is like, can I just lock myself in a room for 3 hours and not do anything besides one task? And I do struggle with that quite a bit. And I think that is a grander view as to how it's difficult to focus on one thing. Cause I think it's just fun to look at the new shiny thing, right? But you really got to hone it in. It's just, it's a good quality up until a very small, very low ceiling. And then all of a sudden it starts to crack the rest of the foundation of what you're building. And so honing in on that is a skill that I'm really looking at perfecting as time goes on. But
have you ever heard of Brick, the little social media thing?
I'm thinking like one of those games or something.
No. So this is not an ad, because I tried to reach out to them and say like, hey, can I be an ambassador for you? Because I want to sell these things, because it's literally changed my life. No, it's this like this little gray like rubber block that you literally choose what apps you want to brick. So you just download their app. You have this little brick. It sits on your desk wherever you want it. I keep it in my backpack. And you brick your phone to where it literally becomes like a dumb phone, to where I mean, you can text and call and do everything, but you can block every other app you want to. So I block all my social media when I'm working during the day. And then whenever I need to go on and do posts or whatever, I just unbrick it, can go on there and do it. And the amount of times I will be sitting there and like just finish a text message to somebody, swipe up, swipe over, hit Instagram, and it bricks out, and it's like, oh, you can't get on it. I'm like, I've caught myself 100 times doing that, and I'm like, I would have just wasted 1 hour of time scrolling on stupid reels, sending them to my buddies, watching some stuff that would have been like helpful for my business, but not as good as me actually working on my business right now.
Right.
And it's like, I tried to get him. I was like, man, I want to be an ambassador for you guys, because it literally feels like I get an hour or two of my life back each day.
Yeah.
To where I can literally just be like, okay, my phone's bricked. Like I'm going to answer all those texts and those emails rather than scrolling away and being 80 scrolls deep in TikTok on some 9/11 conspiracy theory.
Something crazy. I think it really like my attention span, going back to that, when I have 10 minutes before my next meeting, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I got 10 minutes, I'm going to go relax. Well, the more that you like force yourself to be bored, I feel like the more creative thoughts you have. Whereas then if you get out your phone and scroll for 10 minutes, it's brainless activity, and you're like partially paying attention to what's on your phone. You don't remember any of it 20 minutes later. I don't remember any videos that I watched an hour ago before I came here, right? But it's like slowly chipping away at your just your attention span.
Well, where does everybody say they have their best ideas?
In the shower, right before bed.
Well, in the shower because they're not on their phone.
Yeah.
Like everybody's always like, I had this great idea in the shower. And I'm like, I say it myself. I'm like, you say that. I'm like, it's because my phone's not in there.
Yeah.
Or half the time I'm worse. I like put a podcast on and put it up in my bathroom so I can listen to it.
Right.
But
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
It's forcing yourself to be bored sometimes.
Yeah.
I think you get the best thought provoking ideas, and I think we all need to practice that because there's so many. I mean, social media is not a social platform anymore. It's a competition for your attention, right? So you're actively playing, choosing to be in that world, which I think it's fine to be. So I'm definitely fully in that world. But you also have to separate. It's like, well, everyone on this platform is somehow getting paid for you to look at their stuff, right? And so the algorithm's kind of against you for creating a solid concentration pattern or attention span. So just find times to be bored. Pretty cool, that brick thing. I need to see
You
this.
need to look at it.
I need to look at
after.
that.
It's this little thing. You just kind of throw it in there and tap your phone on it, and then you can unbrick it and brick it back up. And
I want to write job descriptions. It's such a weird thing. And some of the people on my team are like, why do you want to take all the time to do this? And I'm like, I want to formalize the job description because, maybe we started with the hire, but then it's developed as time goes on. So I'm like, I need to lock myself in a room for 8 hours, drink a couple cups of coffee, and just write down every job description for the entire organizational structure. And there's gonna be things that I miss, and we're gonna, tailor it. But then that's like kind of the starting of the SOP phase. And again, like this isn't stuff that I like to do, right? And maybe I can pay someone to do this, I don't know. But I feel like I need to be involved in it. Well, how am I gonna get that done if I'm checking my phone every 5 minutes? Like it's very difficult. And so that's something that I was thinking about to myself. It's like, I just need to take a day. And unfortunately, those days where I want that extreme concentration typically come on like a Saturday, because I have actually, like, sometimes there are problems, right, that I have to put out. But I think the brick might actually be a key right there. Even if I only use it for one day, I'll probably get so much productivity out of it.
Oh, it's helpful. It literally shows you, like, the app shows you how long you've bricked your phone that week, and it's very helpful. Okay, so back to risky business. If you had one push, if you had somebody who's listening to this, they're finishing up senior year of college, that are 1 year out of school, and they are saying, man, I want to take a risk. I just don't know how. I don't know what to do. I'm not good at this, all these things. What would your challenge be to that person?
I think you have to follow your gut a little bit. I knew I wanted to be in sales. I knew that I wanted to be in New York. And so when some opportunity, you start looking for those opportunities, then law of attraction kind of brings them to you. But I think, if you're looking to make a lot of money, I think commission only is a great place to look. It's very nerve-wracking. It's what you did, right? It's what I did. It's just there's the highest upside capture. So that's an opportunity that we can provide, and Lynn and Sotheby's can provide. But it really just comes down to following your gut. Like, if you feel like you need to move, what's starting to call your name? I mean, I'm not saying like make an impulsive decision over a day, but spend 3 months thinking about it and just go do it. Because the worst thing that could happen is that you come home, right?
And you gain the experience from the time you spent there.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people fail to reach all their goals because fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. Like, they are looking at all the reasons to not do it. They might have pressures from their parents. Listen, my parents told me not to make this move. My friends, some of which came up to me and said, hey, Thaddeus, we're really worried about you, before I moved to New York to take a commission-only job. And then they ended up working for us. Like, it's just funny how it goes full circle. But you got to bet on yourself. You got to be convicted in it. You got to give it time. It took me a full year to start really reaping the benefits of all this. And I didn't start seeing it until like the last quarter of that full year. Right. So the first like 9 months, it really wasn't making any money. And I'm like, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to get groceries? How am I going to commute today? Right. Stuff like that. Like, it was very challenging. So you got to give it time. But I think you just got to go and make some mistakes. I think you got to be very used to making mistakes, be comfortable with making mistakes. Because the more you make them, the more comfortable you become with them. Right? It's like public speaking. I think a lot of young people are scared to go public speak. But when you do it 10 times, the 11th time is much easier than the first. You do it 100 times, the 101st time is much easier than the 11th, right? Just go get out there and make mistakes and just be comfortable with it. And if that mistake is you moving across the country, or if that mistake is you taking a job where you're taking a risk on yourself, or if that mistake is, investing into something that you think that you should. I don't know. But in your 20s and 30s, nothing really matters. You're going to bounce back from anything, right? No, you have so much time to bounce back from it. But the difference between someone like me who sounds like I have all this experience, in reality, I just made a lot more mistakes than everyone else. That's it. I made a ton of mistakes. You just jumped to mistakes
quicker. Yeah.
I made a lot more mistakes a lot faster than everyone else. And guess what? We don't learn from our successes. If everyone was succeeding, then your ego just gets the best of you, right? We learn from all the scarcity that comes from mistakes, right? Because it truly shapes like the way you think and how you can avoid risk moving forward. So
that's really good. We just need to clip that whole last 2 minutes of what you said. That's the perfect one right there.
That's the goal.
That's all I have. Yeah. No, clip it. Clip the Brick ad. I need to send it to Brick. I need to send it. Wait a second.
Get the sponsorship going. Yeah. Just tag him real quick.
It's always on the side. Oh no, did I leave it in the truck? Dad, give some more wisdom over here.
You gotta provoke something. I don't know.
It's always on the side of my backpack, but I guess I left it in the truck today.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I seriously am thank you for your time. Thanks for being willing to meet a stranger and talk about yourself and even being, I've interviewed probably 25 people and you've asked more questions about me than anybody else, even than my dad when he was on the podcast. So no, he was great. But Brad, you know Brad Pierce, he was on the podcast.
Yeah, I do. I work with Brad Pierce. And,
you do?
And I do his Human Sync.
Nice.
Did you interviewed him about him or Human Sync?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he's
do
been a friend
Human
since
Sync
I went to high
him.
school with him. He's a few years younger than me.
So spending money on coaching.
Yeah.
He coaches me on my health. It's expensive, but listen, I'm very thankful for it. I don't know if I'll do it forever, but I called him up and I was like, listen, doing this for 2 years, no problem. I might learn so much that it's inevitable that I need to come back to you. And there's a sense of an accountability to it. But I think it's super important to invest into your health, and he's a great way to do it. But Brad is a good friend, and he's really close with my younger brother. So they do marathons and stuff together.
They're crazy. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, they're studs for sure. Brad especially. I mean, he's done Ironmans. But me and him are pretty close. So
that's cool, man. Well, seriously, thanks for the time. Thanks for it's fun to hear. It's fun when I'm always challenged by guys that are younger than me. You're only a year younger than me, but it's like, man,
not far off.
It's just it's that. I think it's easy. People will listen to this and it's easy to sit there and be like, man, like I wish I could be like that guy. It's like, how many years have you been working from when you moved back from New York since when you started your business?
March 2020.
Okay. So 5 years.
And that's 5 years.
You blink and it's been 5 years.
5 years. So much has changed.
Yeah.
So much has changed. It's moved so fast. And sometimes we don't stop to appreciate it. And I think, and there's something to be said about that, because I think some people will have a big win and then they like cash out or clock out or go home. I get a big win. I hit the office again. I'm like, dude, I want another one, because the people that are, you want to celebrate, but like I'll celebrate when the month's over or when the week's over, whatever my milestone is. But if you start slacking off, then all of a sudden you're going to notice whatever your sales cycle is 15, 30, 45 days later, then you got nothing in the pipe. Right. So it's like, ride that high. But 5 years is, if you take my entire journey of what I do, which is alternative financing, it's only been 7 years. And I mean, wow, it feels like we've moved mountains when you look back at it from that time frame. But when you're stuck in the day to day, it's like I got mountains being hurled at me from,
of course,
every angle. So,
well, it's encouraging for somebody who's listening to it and sits back and goes, okay, what's 8 years from today or 7 years from today, whatever it is, it's like, okay, 2032, we're going to blink. It's going to be 2032. And you can start something today. You can take the risk today. You can branch out and bet on yourself today. You can, you made a great point earlier that I love calling it out, because every person I've sat down with has said the exact same thing. They haven't used the exact wording. Every person just says, don't just wildly take risks, take calculated risk. And you said it when you said, hey, take 3 months to sit back and think through what your risk is going to be, rather than just, let me jump in and move to New York City tomorrow. It's like, take calculated risk, plan things out. And a person who's taking calculated risk is a dangerous person, because if they're betting on themselves and they're adding, wisdom or education to their repertoire and then betting on themselves, it's dangerous. And my goal is that people will look back at a podcast like this and go, man, I listened to that 7 years ago. Here's the business I've built. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who will be encouraged by your story. So thanks, man.
Absolutely. Dude, I appreciate it.
It was fun. Good meeting you.
You as well.